Summer 2025 is right around the corner, so we're putting the band back together for one more pod before we all dive into staff trainings, bus routes, and the smiles and hugs that make our jobs so worthwhile. These next few weeks are going to be stressful, so I want to stress why what we do is so important. This is the Day Camp Pod.
This is the Day Camp Pod from Go Camp Pro, bringing you the best ideas, strategies, and discussions in the day camp industry. You can find our show notes at daycamppodcast.com.
Let me tell you about CampMinder, the #1 camp database in the world. It has the most robust offerings of service features found anywhere. Every feature works together to create a full, seamless system that helps your camp office run more efficiently while giving your camp family state-of-the-art communication and financial tools. Check out the details at campminder.com. AM Skyer is a leading insurance and strategic partner for many of the finest camps in America. AM Skyer partners with camps to provide public relations, legal, medical, behavioral support, and more. Experience the AM Skyer difference. Learn more at amskyer.com. The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialists, your go-to source for recreation solutions that will ensure that your camp thrives. Explore their website today at CRS4Rec. CRS is serious about fun.
Welcome back to the Day Camp Pod. I'm Andy Pritikin, Director of Liberty Lake in the Philly suburbs of New Jersey.
I'm Sam Thompson from Crystal Lake Park District in Crystal Lake, Illinois.
And I'm Jordana Grossinger, Director of Camp Robin Hood in Ontario, Canada.
Woohoo! And we're together one last time before we ship off to nowhere. We're day camp people. We stay in the same place. My sleepaway camp friends. So anyway, we have a whole bunch of things that we want to talk about. So let's just dive right in. So Sam, I'm happy to see her sitting back in Chicago because I saw her 2 days ago in Washington, D.C., where we met with all kinds of offices of senators and congressmen and such. And Sam, you guys, the Illinois crew, you guys were really galvanized. How many offices did you end up going to?
19. We had 5 of us, so we did split up occasionally, but not as much as last year. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I did not go to that many. I went to 3, but I got to sit in the actual Senate room, which was cool. And yeah, did a whole bunch of other cool things too. But so what was the spiel? What were the things that you guys were hitting up? What were the main points so people know?
Okay, so I was doing the economic impact for Illinois
Mm-hmm.
that ACA did last year. They were trying to get people to join the Camp Caucus to back us up year
Right. We're
round.
trying to get the staff members and the congressmen themselves potentially to join. It's like finding out who goes to camp, right? And I don't know about you guys. You guys went to 19 offices, but in the 2 years that I've done these things, every single person that we've been assigned to talk to has gone to camp. It's been a person that went to camp, which is just it's sort of mind-boggling. But then you think about like what we do at camp and the character values and the leadership skills that we teach, and it makes a whole lot of sense.
I did have one lady who goes, "Oh, I didn't go to camp, but I went to a park district program." And I'm like, that is camp. Come
I know.
on.
I had this girl say I didn't go to camp. I was a Girl Scout. I went to Girl Scout camp, and I'm like, what? Don't sell yourself short.
So I
By the
don't
way,
think
I
they
hung out
have
with the Girl Scouts.
concept.
I hung out with the Girl Scouts a lot there. Did you know there's 11 million Girl Scouts
Wow.
in the world? That it's all over. That there's more Girl Scouts, I think she said, in India than there are in America. It's this huge international organization. So shout out to Abigail, hair sign it was enlightening me with all this
That's
Girl
very
Scout
cool.
knowledge. Yeah, it's big. I mean, we say it all the time that there's more kids that go to Girl Scout camps and town rec programs and such than go to camps like mine and Jordana's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And most of those park district ones are not counted in the economic impact study either
Really?
because we don't have one way to count us in this state, which we're working on that too, trying to get more clear cut who's in charge of us and how do we get counted. Child Protection Act was about background checks, and that looks really good. It got approved 2017, but it hasn't been put in use yet. And it's back up in the Senate for evaluation. So we were asking people to.
Yeah, I have to look into that because in New Jersey, they're trying to get all camps to fingerprint all employees, which is really going to be a hardship. So if we can get this federal thing going, that might be able to override it. So that's good news.
That would be really cool. Yeah, this should be more economical as well. So you're not doing every state they ever lived in or
Mm,
went to school in.
yes.
And then we did the J1 visas. We had one of our guys uses a lot of international staff. So he went over that most of the time. And then we have a community block grant that sends 5,000 kids to camp every year. And of course, all of those kind of things are being looked at now. It was
On the
appropriations
chopping block.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
is that out of the skinny budget?
it might be, yes.
Oh, that's
They
really bad.
everybody that talked about the skinny budget, yeah,
Yeah,
kind of had
there
a
turns out there's a
smile.
lot of grants. There's a lot of federal grants that go to a lot of camps that are not going to exist if these grants disappear. So
Right.
that was one of our big things, definitely. And you
Yeah.
mentioned the J1 visa, which is not exclusively a sleepaway camp thing, because we know we had Jay from Breezemont on earlier in the season talking about how he has like 80 or 100 of these kids come over and they stay at local colleges and then work at their
That's
day
right.
camp. Oh, the Ramacoy guys too. We're here
Ramakoy.
Yeah.
talking about that. Yeah, I always find that fascinating. And yeah, we went around with two representatives from the international staffing agencies who came over originally from other countries and then have become American citizens for the last decade or so. So it
Nice.
was pretty interesting hearing their
And I
perspective.
will
Yeah.
I will say also north of the border, like in Canada, we're having some of those same challenges with getting international staff and getting everyone approved to work. And of course, for our sleepaway camp friends, it's in greater volume. But at day camps, we definitely had that conversation of maybe helping us out even with our bus routes and having
Oh,
some
yeah.
international staff placed in the city or those trickier spots to get bus counselors, using that way. But there's definitely a lot of barriers in terms of that. And the grants over here too. It's tough to get
Yeah.
those.
Our
Yeah.
grant right now, we're on our 54th year, but that doesn't mean that it won't be something that gets
And
down the
generally
tubes.
speaking, how many kids go to camp through these grants every year?
5,000. We've had 250,000 go in the last 54 years. So that's quite a bit of
Wow.
That is
ec-
significant.
impact. Yeah. So, and
Wow.
all mainly inner city, definitely families that would not have been able to go to camp otherwise. So
Wow.
definitely in place of childcare.
Yep. Well, this is why we go to Washington, and it's pretty inspiring. And the 110 people that came from all over the country, there were people from Jordan, excuse me, from Alaska, Jordana, that were there. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
was a pretty impressive group of people, and got to meet some really neat people and hear
And
about their camps.
Amazing. And such good
and
advocating, like just for our industry and getting just the words and the impact of camp into the people that can make those decisions is just so, so
yeah.
important.
And the head guys got into the White House, didn't they?
Yes,
Steve and Scott got,
yeah, they spoke to one of the vice president's top staff people, and who interestingly they said the first thing we say, Jordan, when we go to the offices, whoever we meet with said, "Did you go to camp?" Right? And so this was an older woman in her mid 60s or something, and she was like, "Yeah, I actually went to camp in Mississippi, and it was so great. I had such a great time, and my kids went, and my grandkids go there now. But you know what the best part was? All the international staff that were there, and we're like,
nice.
oh."
We have an
Interesting you
in.
mentioned
Yeah.
that.
By
She was
the
like, it was
way,
so great. I met people from all over the world in Mississippi. That was super
It
cute.
it's amazing how it just unites us all. I have a group here this weekend and they came from the States. And when they were getting their rental car, even they were explaining to them why they were here and they brought up camp. And the person working at the rental car place went to camp, loves camp. They got a great deal on their car. And he was like, I'm going to get you the nicest car for the weekend. But it's really the power of camp and just like it's that
Yeah.
bridge for all of us. So
Yeah.
it's really
And it's actually
that's
really cool
cool.
when we walk into these offices and you think you're sort of bothering people because these people have meetings all day long, right? And then they're just like, you guys are from summer camps? Oh my God, come on in, you know?
Yeah.
Because somebody made a joke during our training. They said the person before you could want to open a smelting plant in a national park. Like they're talking to pharmaceutical companies and tobacco companies and all this kind of stuff. And it's like summer camp is a bipartisan, everybody loves us. We're like puppy dogs, right?
Yeah.
Or kittens.
good reputation.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
I walked out of the meeting room in one of them, and this girl goes, "Do you work for the Crystal Lake Park District?" I'm like, "Yes." And she looked familiar, and she goes, "I'm one of the lifeguards. I'm not in charge of the lifeguards, but
Oh
she
my
goes, we do the
God.
missing child drill with you." I'm like,
Oh
yeah,
my
you do. So
God.
that was pretty wild to run into a Crystal Lake
Yeah.
person there. I ran into a Cary person too who lived there right next door. They're 10 minutes away. So
Well, this
anyway,
is
that
why
was
we're trying to put
interesting.
together this camp caucus. We're trying to sort of galvanize. We're trying to unionize all our camp people that are in government.
Yeah.
Get them together so we could like activate them when we need to.
You can make it a new activity at camp just to get people on track to go to government, and then they'll
Try
have
to try
camp.
to get political science majors. Yeah, try to
Yes.
swing them. Yeah. Well, yeah. In all seriousness, the people that do that, they are pretty amazing, selfless people, right? If you think about it. And one last thing I want to say about the government stuff that I wrote in my social media post today was that it was really amazing that the place is run by young people. It's run by young people in their 20s, and it sort of reminds you of camp because like your
Yes.
frontline people are actually these young people that are doing all the hard work, that are changing the things, that are rewriting these things, that are bringing this to this, all that stuff. Because we see the people on television, the talking heads, the senators, the top people, but yet they all have these big teams of young people that do all their hard work.
Yeah.
That are probably underpaid and overworked. So there's similarities to
So
camp
even more
industry.
like summer camp.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's great.
So when you talk about in Canada, how you guys are having your own little issues there, do you think that's economy kind of stuff too? Because is that what it's related to more so?
I think that's definitely part of it. And I think that we're lucky because a lot of the people advocating for us here too, like when I think of like the main hub for getting international staff in Canada, he grew up at camp, right? And they hire camp people and they're the ones doing a lot of that work, which is incredible. But I do think there's a big tie to some of the economic challenges we're seeing right now, which totally impact kind of the cost of running camp, right? Especially in Canada with everything that's going on with tariffs and getting things over the border and different things like that. I mean, I went to Tri-State and usually we come back with a ton of things and we'll get it shipped and we'll book people in. We couldn't do a lot of that stuff this year because of those challenges. And so it's definitely impacting when we talk about just like bottom lines and what we want to purchase for programming and if we want to bring special trainers in, everything's being impacted, which then of course, even going into the summer makes us think of like fee structure and where that's going to be in the upcoming summer.
Definitely.
Well, for the record, I'm getting my backpacks from Canada. All right, so adding to
Yes.
the Canadian economy. Or
Yes.
your buddy, the incredible guy, great new tri-state vendor that I
All
got.
backpacks. Yes,
Yeah, they are high quality. Does a lot of things. The giblet things for what are they called? For they
Oh
go on
yeah,
your Crocs.
gibbets for your Crocs. Yeah,
Gibbets
those
for
are
your
fan
Crocs.
favorites.
Yes,
But
very
even those
good.
are more expensive. So it's like even thinking of like swag for staff and merchandise and all those different things, like
Yep.
being selective and being very purposeful and intentional of like what we're bringing in and how it's going to be used and how it's going to be sold. And we have to pay a lot of thought to.
Yeah, and then so camp is more expensive for us. So we make camp more expensive for everybody else, and then even the nonprofit camps are expensive
Yep.
for regular people, and it's just a bummer. It just really is.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialists, your go-to source for recreation solutions that will help ensure that your camp thrives this summer. Check out their inflatable aqua park courses for pools or lakes, the prime carts, the cool little go-kart things, the emergency alert and lightning detection systems. Whoa! The splash pads. Whoa, if you got the money for that, splash pads is the way to go with the heat we got. The Zoom Flume. A lot less money and talk about the most awesome water slip and slides that you could possibly get. The jumpers, okay, for bouncing all around the place. Mini golf. The prefab cabins and pavilions and bathrooms. The shade structures. Lord, do we need shade structures these days. The shade structures cannot be beat. And of course, the playgrounds, including the ones with the cool musical components. Anyway, CRS Commercial Recreation Specialists, your go-to source. Explore their website today at crs4rec.com because CRS is serious about fun.
And the way that we set up our fees, we have to be really smart about that. I mean, we can't raise our fees to the extent that our costs are going up percentage-wise. We just can't.
Right.
What I'm hearing across the board is that there's just less people signing up for camp, and the people that are signing up for the minimum amount of weeks, right? So at Liberty Lake, we are a 3-week minimum, and I would say 2/3 of the enrollments we're getting are 3-week enrollments. It's just what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Um,
It hit me hard when I had to just do my vouchers for my clothing for my staff because they get a sweatshirt and three t-shirts and a swim shirt and all this stuff. And it was so over the top, more expensive this year than it's ever been. And we right now are the cheapest around for parents. And still have 65 families that are low income paid for by the state. But we're going to have to raise prices next year. The food is so much more, the busing's so much more.
you feed people at your
We
camp?
just we do before and after camp and do
Okay.
breakfast and a snack there,
Hmm.
and that's getting harder. They can buy lunch from our concession stand while they're at the beach, and we've had to raise those prices, so not as many parents
Hmm.
are buying anymore. They're sending
So
lunch.
what does generally a week cost at the Crystal Lake Park District?
$195
All right, still pretty good.
for 8:30 to 3:30.
Yeah, no, that's pretty darn affordable.
And some of
Um,
those trends you're saying though about like length of stay too,
Mm.
we're trying to take some better notes on that too and see those trends and look at the data of that because we also, so our minimum is it's a 2 week session they can sign up for, and you get discounts on multi-sessions and booking those. But we find that parents and kids want to try different things out. So they're trying different, more specific camps. So maybe they'll go to like coding camp for like a week or music camp for 2 weeks. And
mhm.
as a traditional camp, we advertise that they get everything all in one place, and still there's that desire to do a little bit of other things. It could just be that they want to do those, but it does make me think that there's, of course, an economic impact to all of that as well.
Yeah. My view on that is that when 20 years ago, or
Mhm.
even 10 years ago, if you had two working parents in a household, they generally both woke up and left the household to go to work
Right.
and had to drop their kids off somewhere or get picked up somewhere, right? And we were providing this such needed childcare that people who didn't even know what camp was were just like, well, this is a great babysitting option, you know? But now, if you have one of those parents has some kind of flexible schedule, that allows kids, first of all, not to necessarily have to go to camp, but also it gives the parents flexibility to drive them to this 1 week basketball thing and this 2 week drama thing and all that kind of thing. Whereas in the past, it was like, oh my gosh, 8 weeks at Robin Hood, I don't have to think about it, I'm done. I come home at 5 o'clock and the bus comes and we're all good, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different world.
So true. That's such a good point. I think that's
Yeah.
definitely impacting all of it. And even to say, let's have the kids at home because we're working from home and we can do it this way is
Yeah.
another option.
Yeah.
We've made the mistake, which we'll have to look at this for next year. For years now, we've offered 10 weeks for the price of 9. So they can just do one code. They get a guilt-free vacation week during the summer. And now I have 600 families doing the all summer. And then the rest are 2, 4, and 6, 1, 3, and 8. So I'm eating those weeks too. I let too many people sign up for that. I need to draw that back in a little bit.
It's a lot of kids.
Too many discounts.
Well, I think glass half full about this economic stuff we're talking about is that we have absolutely the most staff applications that we have ever seen, ever. And the joke I keep saying, which is not really funny, is that if I had as many camper applications as I had staff applications, I'd be sitting pretty because boy, they just keep on rolling in. And I think that's a product of going back to what we were talking about, the economy, that if you're young, it's expensive to do anything and you gotta work. And at least in New Jersey, I don't know what it is where you guys live, but minimum wage is high. You could scoop ice cream and make 15.50 an hour. I mean, that's serious, right? I mean, the staff at my camp, we basically have doubled what we've paid them in the last 10 years. So
We've done the same.
yeah, so it's lucrative to
Yeah.
work. Plus, it costs so much money to do anything because that ice cream cone I mentioned probably costs $7. So you gotta work.
Yep.
And I also think that most businesses are out there, the ice cream, the retail places, whatever, if they have to pay that kind of money for somebody, they'd rather hire a 20-year-old or a 24-year-old or whatever. So I think that the high school and college kids, there's not as many opportunities for them because all those jobs are being grabbed. because also there's people that are getting phased out of jobs, right? Because of AI technology and automatic checkouts and whatever. So there's more older people, I think, in the job market to take those sort of frontline retail kind of jobs. So I think Class F, well,
Yeah.
it's a benefit for us that we're getting tons of applications of really good people.
Yeah, that's
Um,
been like a really nice trend. And it's crazy. In May, we're like turning away people because we're mostly full for our staff. And I find that era of staff is also very driven and entrepreneurial too. And so they're seeking out jobs more and more. And even after camp, we find people are doing stuff, like our staff are doing some tech stuff after hours because they're very motivated by making more money because they have to make more money, especially now as things are so much more expensive. So
Right.
it's interesting to see all of those shifts, but definitely a large amount of staff applications coming through.
right. But when you're saying tech stuff, that means that I could sit around in the air conditioning in my underwear at 10 o'clock at night and do that, right?
Yes.
Which is a hell of a lot easier than going to Walmart or something.
Exactly. So
Right.
they're making the same amount, probably more. And I think there's a flip side to that too. Like sometimes we have staff who are like coming to camp all day and then they're doing that stuff later because they're so motivated by that. And then we just have to keep an eye and really check in with our people to make sure they're taking care of themselves and coming to camp every day ready to go. But we've definitely seen some shifts like that with our staff.
That's a good comment because I've had a couple kids this summer that were trying to bite off more than they could chew.
Mhm.
We had one girl who was amazing, but then she sent us a letter not that long ago saying, "Oh, well, I took 5 summer classes and I have another job, so I'm going to drop your job." It's like, are you nuts? And then another girl, she said she had torn ACL or something like a couple months ago. And I go, "Are you sure that's not going to impact camp?" "Oh, no, I'll be fine." Well, she had a doctor's appointment and she's not been taking it easy. So now she's not going to be able to work again. So they're trying to do too much. And we're also seeing a lot more teachers working this summer than used to work this summer.
I am not getting that at all.
No.
I am seeing, yeah, that teachers are just like spent at the end of the school year. Unless they're like new teachers, like in their early 20s or mid 20s, and they're trying to save for a house and there's that kind of thing. That's the only kind of teacher. Or teachers with 3 kids that want to work at camp and get free tuition.
Right.
Well, the burnout is real. Like by the time the
Yeah.
stuff comes out, they're really tired. But I think young, like an age group younger than those teachers are doing exactly what you're saying, Sam. Like I have staff who are saying, yeah, I'll take the subway to the bus stop to then do a whole, it adds an hour to her camp day, but she's so
Jeez.
committed to doing it and wants to go that extra mile. But we have to be realistic of like what a day at camp is and the toll it takes on our staff when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So speaking of staff things, I'm just curious if you guys are doing anything different with staff training, any kind of like broad ideas. I'll just tell you that coming out of last year's summer, that the feedback we got from a lot of people was that from the new people, when it was just like, what were we missing? What do you wish that we told you during staff training? And the number one thing was they wish they went more through a regular camp day. And because we do a rookie training and we sort of do a BS kind of simulation thing, but it's not real. And also at that point, they don't know what division they're in or that kind of thing, what age group necessarily, right? So we're going to put together like a 4-hour training when they know what division and all that they're going to be with, where they can really go through and it's going to be just for that. You know, when you're third and fourth graders, that this is what happens in first period, and this is what happens when you transition to swim and all that kind of thing, because they just felt like that first day was just so overwhelming, um,
Sure.
that the theory of just hearing it was not
Enough.
substantial.
That was the biggest change to our staff training last year, and we're going to carry it through to this year. We've tried day in the lives in different ways, and some things have really worked about it, and then some things haven't. But last year we had our senior cabin leaders, who are mostly returning staff, act as the cabin leader, and the cabin leaders were kind of like the campers in the cabin. And we gave them a mock schedule. And so in the morning of our last day of pre-camp, we went through everything they have learned and showed them. And it just made us think like, in the past, maybe we haven't been as explicit to say, this is where your group goes to your swim benches. Some of my senior staff turned to me and was like, yeah, George, like this is great that we're actually going through it, because those faces on the first day of camp are like, oh, this is what you meant by the swim benches. Or it's the senior staff team getting frustrated that the counselors don't know where those things are. But we're pushing our team to ask, well, did we go over it? Did we explicitly show them? And asking those questions, and really just make a list for what is it that first day of camp of those kind of mishaps or those things that we wish we addressed, and putting those to the top of our staff training list.
Yeah. After Michael's book, I decided I had used to start off with all the big group stuff, all the paperwork stuff, all the scary drills, missing child, active shooter, all that. That was a big mistake. So this year they're coming in late afternoon. They're going to go to where they would go with their campers. And all week long, they ask when are they getting their swag. So they're going to get their shirts first. They're going to get all their fun stuff, have a meal outside at where they normally would, kind of like a regular camp day, and then we'll go in and just do goals on the first night. Then the second day, we'll get more into what we have to cover and try to do it a little more where they're doing the activity part, it's going to be more fun.
Mhm.
So get them more engaged. But
Love it. So along the lines of staff, also so you got there was a trend coming out of the pandemic where we were literally having podcasts about like how do we bribe our staff to actually even show up, right? And absenteeism was such a big thing. And I still hear people talking about it, but I don't think like last year we had our percentage of staff that showed up on a day-to-day basis was really high compared to maybe ever, frankly. So we stopped doing any of those kind of like bonuses and whatever because it wasn't moving the needle anyway. But I'm just curious what you guys do when, because again, there's a glut of people that want to work at camp now, right? So when you have somebody, not a returning person that's a superstar that you know, okay, but a new person that you know is impressive, but they're brand new, and when they say, "Hey, listen, I can work." But I can't work this week, or I can't work these 2 weeks, or I have to go off to school a week and a half before the end of the summer, or I can't start until whatever. Like, how do you guys approach that?
mine, I'm making them subs right away. So I have a couple who are going to miss the week of training. So they're going to be a shadow for somebody for the first week they're there. And then if they're already in and they've got their group and they leave for a week, they hate that they don't get to have their group that week, that they have to be a sub for somebody else. But it doesn't make sense if they're gone Wednesday through Friday. That doesn't make a good week for the campers.
And
So
what do you call your subs? Do you call them anything different? Or do you call them subs?
I call them subs, but we intentionally hired like 8 people that are subs this year. And
That
we
doesn't
know,
seem like enough for the amount of kids you have,
yeah,
frankly.
we've got like 135 staff this year, where last year we had 100. I have 22 inclusion aides right now. I'm waiting to hear on 4 other ones if they qualify for an inclusion aid or not.
Mhm.
So I'm so sick of interviewing right now. I could scream. And our new online onboarding has been kind of a nightmare, actually. I'm sure it'll get better when we're all in the system, but they're not looking at their email, which is where everything comes that they have to do. And so then I'm constantly writing herd on everyone who's doing paperwork. So every other day I'm calling 15, 20 people going, sign your contract. Go in, then you'll get your
Yeah,
tasks. Go in your task, upload your social security
yeah.
card.
Campminder has mass texting now, and all their forms can be done on the phone very easily. What's the deal with Camp Brain?
We have texting too. Cambrain has
Yeah, that's
texting.
good.
And so that's been a game changer for us. And I think every time we send out an email, our new play is we send out a text to say, check your email, and
Yep.
it prompts them a little bit, which is
All right.
great.
I'm going to do that because I've got the remind app for texting and they do respond to that one better. So now I'm going
They're
to do
always on
that.
their phone. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
always. And I think another thing that I learned from somewhere was to change the wording in some of our emails. And so especially with the job offer, we literally now list, here are the 4 ways that you can respond to this email. Yes, I'm in. I need a little bit more time. I'd love to book a chat or another option. And then they just reply with those responses, because sometimes
Yeah.
it's all new to a lot of our staff too. And I think that's what we forget. And when we talk about staff absenteeism, It's about the process for us because I think that so many of our young staff don't even know how to call in or about saying that they're sick or they can't come in or they're not feeling well or they have an appointment. So those professionalism pieces we really view as like ways to teach them of how to have a job, right? It's like here's a form you have to fill out or here's who you email. This is what it could say. So different things
Yeah.
like that are those nuggets that we squeeze into
Oh,
there.
that's great. I was in the car for 5 hours going back and forth to Washington D.C. with Justin Pritikin. So we were talking about this, and he does a big session at every one of his, every year with his full staff. He breaks them into smaller groups when they're doing rotation, and it's called HR. And it
Mhm.
just covers those things because, like you said, Georgiana, you can't expect these people, especially if it's their first job,
Yeah.
to have any idea what the protocols are. And like a real basic one is the whole calling out thing, right? Because what ends up happening is these people start texting their supervisors or whatever at the point where their supervisors are already at camp and they don't have their phones on them. Right. So now the buses are rolling in. We're like, where's this person? Right. When we call them and they're like, oh, I called, texted my supervisor. Yeah. When? At 8:15 when we were in the middle of a meeting and they're already here because we're like so militant about no phones here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just they spent the night Tuesday while I was gone, all the camp directors and their assistant directors filling packets for the kids for the first day and also filling the swag bags for all of the staff. So now they're ready. They've got their boxes of all their staff stuff for the first day of training. And they have some of them have the whole summer done for all their kids for the summer of all the instructions and your thing to put in your car when you come in and their t-shirt and their parent handbook and all that stuff all in bags already ready to go. But they
And,
ordered pizza, they turned on music, and they went down and around the tables and just filled assembly line style.
and then how is this stuff going to get to the families?
First day, as they come in, they get their bag. So then by the time they come back that day, they've got their placard for their car and they've got everything. It's all on the website too, but they've got hard copies of all of it also. And the t-shirt, because the parents do that too. They call you every day, where's my kid's t-shirt?
And some of those camp
How do I
prep,
exchange?
oh,
Yeah,
exchange.
yeah,
That's what they ask.
And I was going to say some of those camp prep tasks are like the most exciting for our
yeah.
staff. I know that once they have their spring off before
Yeah.
summer, we get all these emails about, can I work? Can
Oh
I work?
yeah.
We actually just
Oh, I
started this
know.
week and it's so nice. Like they were cleaning all this stuff and they love it. Like it's just to be at camp, a change from school.
Oh yeah.
It's great
Oh yeah.
opportunities for them.
We have
Yep.
way more people that want to do it than we need. There's no
Yeah,
doubt
that
about
is
it.
true too.
Yeah. And my wife is always like, let me see your handwriting. Right. Right.
There's a test. Yeah, you have to pass the
Yeah.
jill test before you.
Exactly. It's
I
very, very
stole your
important.
idea, Andy, too, about the t-shirts with a couple veteran counselors that say, I'm not your boss, you can ask me anything. So I ordered those. And two people at each camp are going to have those as well. So if it's a social thing or if it's I'm not sure where the bathroom is,
Yeah.
whatever, they can ask one of those
All right.
guys.
Well, that's a Justin Predicate thing. I give
Yeah.
him credit. That was his idea. So curious as to now that we're sort of back from reality after those crazy pandemic times, like what are you guys doing in regard to like parents actually visiting camp? Is there a parent visiting? Is there a family night? Is there anything like that where you're bringing families to your site at this point? So at Liberty Lake, we did bring back our family night, and the last 2 years it's been rained out. Even though I have a rain date, the rain date was actually worse than the regular one that was rained out. So we are planning on doing that. But I know that there's a lot of camps out there that took the opportunity to be like, screw this. We're not doing it anymore. We're out.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
parents aren't going to know, right?
A lot of camps are like it's a blessing in disguise and we don't want to do it anymore. For us, our families were so used to those family nights, they really wanted them back. And I think our staff too, we switched to virtual staff meetings every week too. We still do those. So that was kind of those keepsakes from the COVID era. But on our family nights, we have an in-person staff meeting, which is like a highlight for the staff too. They like to stay later after the kids go home. But we did bring back both of our family nights. So we have one each month. And we do our open houses before camp so they can come on the site. And our one that's closer to camp, they can meet their staff. But we used to do a lot of camp tours, and that's one thing we haven't brought back. So we don't do as many of those.
What do you do in regard to parking for these big nights? Do you have enough space on your facility, or are
It
you
gets
bussing them in?
tight. Yeah. So our staff stay, and the staff that we send one staff member home on the bus and they come back. So our staff aren't parking, most of them. But sometimes, especially in the July family night, there are cars everywhere. So we fill our whole big gravel driveway, and sometimes we have to park a few on our baseball diamonds too.
We invited them back for the talent show and for the Carbo Boat Regatta, which are both during the day. So we span the lunch hours so they can kind of take a longer lunch or whatever to come watch their child. But yeah, when we do that, the parking is behind the baseball field and the grass everywhere because we can't normally fit them
Yeah,
all.
which is
So
great if it rained the day
yeah,
before.
Is that during the day, Sam, that you have the parents on site?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
the first camp I worked
yeah.
with at North Shore in Long Island, we did daytime thing. It was horrible. It's
Wow.
the worst. Because of one reason it was really bad, we flipped it to evening when I was there. It was so bad because the parents didn't want to come during the day, but they felt obligated because if they didn't come, their kids would get upset. You know what I mean? So it became a burden for everybody. So Jordana, take me through a virtual weekly staff meeting. How does that look like? What happens during those things?
It's me having about 10 screens on my computer and trying to manage everyone coming in. But as people are coming in, we usually leave like a riddle or some game on the screen as they come in. We do our staff meetings through Menti. If you haven't used Menti, it's the best ever. And it
I
just
use it when at Dr. G sessions.
Yes, that's how
Yeah.
I got it. It was Dr. G. I was in one of those sessions. I'm like, I love this. We could do this all the time. And our staff get in a groove of using it and they're able to interact, and it's all anonymous, which is perfect. So we usually have a structure to our virtual staff meetings. It's mandatory that they attend. We'll throw in some little activities. So we'll do like staff shout outs where they can all type in on Menti and shout each other out. And so it's really nice camaraderie. We do like campers say the darndest things and they get to say funny things that they've heard. And then we go through a couple big ticket items that we have to review for camp. And then we send them out into their breakout rooms. So everybody based on their area, they go into a breakout rooms and our senior staff run those. It's no longer than an hour and we try to keep it short and sweet, and they don't have to have their like the cameras on is a big thing too. And I think you have to be really clear of like your expectations about all that. So we say you don't need them on in the big room, but in your breakout room, you're a participant and you're actively doing that. So you need your camera on.
What time do you start it?
We start it at 7. So it goes 7 to
Interesting.
8. By that time, everyone's home, they've showered, they're feeling good, a little rested. The odd time we'll get people just lying on their beds and doing things, but we pay a lot of lip service to how to appropriately engage in those staff meetings. But they've worked out well. It's actually, I think it was a big transition when we did it during COVID, but we found they worked great and people didn't have to trek back to camp. We didn't have missed staff. So we actually have full attendance at these because they just have to log on to Zoom. And it's another thing we've built into our absenteeism. So if you're requesting a time off of camp, whether it's like for an appointment or something, even for staff meetings, you have to request time off of those and get those approved if you want to miss those.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's really cool. That's like you said, one of those things from the pandemic that we're hanging on to. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I
That
will
worked
say
out.
also shout out to producer Matt. I went to a session of his years ago at the OCA and he did all these engaging things of how to engage people online. And so little things like playing music right before they all come in. We have a staff playlist we collect from them. That's what we're playing, and some of those different tactics that you can throw in.
That's cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
For over 100 years, summer camps have been an integral part of the AM Skyer world. AM Skyer is a strategic partner for summer camps across the country, building personal relationships and providing valuable resources to their clients and friends. Every day, AM Skyer is proud to support camps and make them safer. Skyer was founded by Abe Skyer in 1920 and is now the third generation of Skyer family leadership. My friends Henry, Jeffrey, and Amy, and the experienced AM Skyer staff, they eat, sleep, and breathe summer camps while fostering partnerships with camps that last for decades, if not centuries. Give AM Skyer the opportunity to find solutions for your most challenging insurance needs. I can tell you firsthand, they truly go above and beyond. Learn more at amskyer.com. As a camp director, you're a leader of your camp and a pillar in your community. When your customers put tremendous trust in you, CampMinder's powerful management software tools deliver the day-to-day task support that helps you make every touch point moment memorable and every summer stellar. CampMinder has the most user-friendly platform for both your staff and your parents, and is backed by a team of crafty engineers and customer service associates who are constantly thinking of ways to optimize your camp's database, communication, and financial management. With state-of-the-art app for your camp families and an API available for third-party softwares, CampMinder is always evolving elite summer camp software. Check them out today at campminder.com.
All right. Any new activities or new special events that you're excited about doing this year? So at Liberty Lake, our most popular we're an elective base camp. Our most popular one by far is our cooking elective, which is called Taste Buds. Shout out to Deer Kill because we stole the name from them at a day camp tour. Todd, great name, what can I tell you? So it's so popular, we don't have the facility to make a second one with ovens and all these kind of things. So we're starting one called Creative Cooking. And I actually got a lot of recipes from my friends in California because these day camps that are on the edge of the wildfire mountains, they can't cook. They have to be creative and they have to make salsa and things like that. So yeah, we're excited about that one. We think it could be, I don't know. These cooking things tend to cost a lot, but we think we could figure it out that it's a lot of fruit and vegetables and keep the cost down.
And do you do that in-house, Andy, or is it an outside service that comes in and does it?
Oh, everything we do is in-house. Yeah.
You don't have any outside service providers
For our electives?
for any of the programs?
No. We used to bring in a gymnastics company. We've brought people in for like a week or two, that kind of thing. But no, I mean, we have 350 staff. I got all kinds of specialists that we hire and hire somebody for a couple of weeks. You could teach yo-yo and do it for a couple of weeks for someone like that. But no, it's interesting because we get a lot of phone calls from vendors. Oh, we could come in and do this at your camp and all this kind of thing. Like, nah, I got that. I have a STEM lady. Why do I don't need a STEM company to come in. Hire a science teacher.
Yeah, but I think there's a huge spectrum of that in the day camp space of people that are using the outside vendors or a mix or solely in-house. We've ventured to a few. We have some outside service providers that have been with us for ages. One of the new things we've introduced is something called Wonder Box, and they bring those kids. It's more of that STEM-based activity. So we do have about 25 activity staff, but we found that it's been helpful to have a few of those, just say, okay, it's locked in for these outside parties to run, but it's very specific on what that activity is. I find like you have to find the right fit for those. So something like we were having a really hard time a couple of years ago hiring for theater and music and those activities. And so we outsource those and they've been great for us, but it depends.
Yeah. Look,
Nice.
everything comes with a price tag, right?
Yes.
So you might be paying double for those people, right? And people that use expert online training, and I totally respect that and all that kind of thing. Like you could do it in-house if you wanted to. It's just going to take more time and effort, right? So you can, this is a whole podcast for next season about third-party vendors.
We'll make a note of
right?
it.
Because it's like, what do you want to take off your plate?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we know a lot of day camps that do transportation in-house, right? They are training the people and they're giving them CDLs and their drivers and all that kind of stuff. Man, is it so nice to have a bus company. And when a driver's sick, they worry about it. They get me a sub who stinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ours, the one thing we do is one of my Crystal Lake Park District board members works at Stryker, which is a STEM company right next door town. So they come to teen camp every year and do a couple activities, egg drop, build a bridge, that kind of thing. So they're coming back again this year. They wanted to try to do one of the younger camps, but there's too many kids in that camp for them to get through in one afternoon because what they're doing is more involved. So we haven't gotten to expand that yet, but looking into that.
So I want to talk about costumes a little bit because I know that Camp Robin Hood, they get all dressed up and all that kind of thing all the time. And I know that like people like my son, he spends a lot of time finding these companies in China that will get him really cheap things that it might take 3 months to get here, but he's going to get it. So I have been shown that especially if we live around a big city like Toronto, that there's costume rental companies that have everything. And like, you don't have to pay to get Spider-Man to come to your camp. You could pay a costume rental company and get Spider-Man for 2 days. And again, have an in-house person run around and climb the trees like Spider-Man. And any of these pop culture things. Like they're out there. So I wanted to throw that out there because I thought that was super interesting. It never really occurred to me. You spend a couple $100, you get this state-of-the-art costume that looks exactly like what the kids think it should look like.
And they're not that expensive usually either. I know
No.
we have a theme day every 2 weeks, and last year was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and we had Palumpas running around camp, and they were in the full outfit, and like we had Willy Wonka outfit, and so sourcing those things out
Yeah,
is
better
so
than Party City,
yeah.
you know?
That's a good
Um,
reminder. That's good. That's a
we
good
all,
time of year. Like this is now where we should be reaching.
yes.
If you haven't
Just
already, your
Google
costume rentals.
party rentals near me, costumes rentals near me. Because there are also some of these companies are the same companies that'll get you like Snow White. Like they'll find a Snow White, bring them to your camp, bring her to your camp. But they also can just provide you the Snow White costume for a heck of a lot cheaper. So another thing I wanted to mention was that we now have an official mascot at our camp, and we had a mascot actually designed. So a bunch of years ago, I went to IAPA, which is the International Association of like amusement parks, right? And I know that a couple of my friends go every single year. They have much bigger budgets than I have,
Mhm.
but they had companies that designed mascots for you there. So it was always something that I wanted to do. I think we wanted to do a turtle for a while because we have this lake behind me here and we have a lot of turtles. But I'm friends with Todd at North Shore Day Camp, who had told me that they had bought these giant fuzzies, like the fuzzy guys with the googly eyes you put on the kid's shoulder when they do something really swell. And they made a giant fuzzy. So he connected me to the vendor. It's over in China. And we got a fuzzy for like less than $1,000 with shipping and everything. This big giant thing. We call him Fuzzy Man. And he is a purveyor of character. And we send him into public now. And we take photos. He's like a social media star. We're trying to get it going. And yeah, hopefully the children won't be terrified of Fuzzy Man in the summer.
That's
No
cool.
nightmares of giant turtles yet.
Yeah, but
That's
that's another
good.
thing, like that's out there. Like you can Google, like make your own mascot or mascot companies, and there's plenty of ones that are prefab, and they can put a camp T-shirt on a dragon, and bam, got a mascot.
That's
That's
fun.
right.
I like the fuzzy ones since they can get miniature fuzzies of their own. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Another thing, speaking of mascots, is that if you're around a major city, or even if you're not in a major city and there's like minor league teams around you, you can pay a relatively modest fee to have the mascots come to your camp. It's just part of what they do. And any college they have like 8 kids. A typical college has 8 kids that get partial scholarships to be mascots. And they
Wow, I
just,
didn't know
yeah.
that.
And they just, I mean, if it's a Division I school with like a legitimate football program or whatever, yeah. And then in professional sports teams too. We have a former camper who got a scholarship to East Carolina to be a mascot, right? And in his adult life now, his part-time job is he's one of the Swoops, which is the Eagles professional football Super Bowl champs mascot. So he's a swoop. So he does engagements all the time. But you have to go to the online thing and fill out a form and say what date you want and all that kind of thing. So that's a cool thing.
I love
Also,
that. I think that's a cool resource to tap into and could be like one of those surprise elements of camp too.
yeah.
Right? Like they get so excited, campers and staff alike. Like, I mean, Maple Leafs fans, I was telling the crew that this is a big time for Toronto right now. And so if you see Carlton the Bear
Mhm.
here, everyone would freak out. If they came to camp, that would be so exciting for our community.
Well, and it's all about the selfies, right? It's all about taking the
Yeah.
pictures with them, right? Shout out to Coleman Day Camp, who has been doing what Jake Jacobs did 30 years ago and bringing in celebrities every year. Last year they had Shaq. This year they're bringing in Juan Soto from the Mets, who's like the highest paid
Wow.
baseball player in the world. Lord knows what they're paying him. And I hope Juan Soto's giving it to charity. That's all I hope. But they're going to bring these people in and they're going to cycle through all of the kids and get a
That's
picture
awesome.
with them, right? That these parents are then that could be your entire marketing budget for the year.
And
Done,
parents get so excited
done.
about that
Yeah.
too. We had a basketball camp we were running at Robin Hood years ago. It was run by Alvin Williams, and the parents were so excited to sign their little kids up for this program because they remember watching him and cheering for him. And so that excitement level just kind of spans the generations, which is nice.
Well, we're running low on time, folks. But I just wanted I wanted to end with us just talking about the fact that it's going to get stressful these next few weeks. There's no doubt about it. I've been doing this for a long time. not as long as Sam, but I've been doing it a long time. And no matter what, it never, it never gets easier. It doesn't. It The only difference is that you can anticipate it. That's it.
But there's
But
always something brand new that you've never seen before in all your life that
right,
happens every
what you
year.
need to do is hard enough, but then the unexpected thing, you have to expect the unexpected thing, right? Whether it's weather related, a tree falls on a house, whatever it is, things are going to happen. But what you got to just remember how amazing it is what we do, the opportunity, what we do. And when we were in Washington and we were telling stories, and there was that little kid, we brought a 12-year-old kid to Washington with us. There was a few kids there. And this kid who was from New York City, his name's Dane, and he always wanted to go to camp, and his parents couldn't really afford it. And so they found a day camp up in the mountains, right? Frost Valley, up in the it's like the Catskills. And they found a campsite like on state lands and put up tents there so that he could attend the day camp there, right? Which was relatively affordable and gave him a day camp experience, to which this kid is like so profound, is able to talk about it and articulate how amazing it was for him. But yeah, what we do is really amazing, and we really change the trajectory of people's lives. And when you start doing it for a while and you come across people who just tell you how life has changed so much because of camp. We do a thing with our teens, with our oldest teens who are in ninth going into 10th grade, and we have them write letters to themselves, and then we mail it to them 10 years later. So we just sent those out, and the feedback that we're getting is just like people who haven't seen us in 10 years just telling us how amazing their time was here, and how it just resonates in the entire rest of their lives, and how they got such confidence in themselves at camp. So, you guys can talk about it as well, but I just want to say that you got to remember that during these times, in these next few weeks, because at Liberty Lake, at least in 44 days, I'm going to have all these kids coming off the buses, hugging me and telling me how camp is their favorite place in the world. And it's going to make me really appreciate how hard I worked the last 10 months to get to this point. Yeah. So I just wanted to close
No,
with that
it's
myself.
the best feeling in the world, right? And we just started with some school groups on site, and to hear the kids laughing and cheering and outside, yeah, right now is stressful. We are in the thick of getting health forms back and doing all the admin stuff, getting all of our activity plans ready, all of the stressful things, because camp is just we're so intentional about all those things, and we're putting all of that into action, and it takes a lot of work. And we spend our year kind of doing it a little bit alone sometimes, right? We don't have the surroundings of all of our team there and all of our staff and all of the kids. But when it gets to switch where we have everybody with us, it just reminds you of how amazing it is and why we're all here. And so I'm really excited for that. And I think it's a good reminder. I'm lucky to have the physical one of even the schools as we anticipate summer, of all the kids being on site. But that's why we're there. And so when you're buried in your computer, staring at schedules and spreadsheets and all those different things, just I think the reminder of going outside and thinking ahead to the summer months is really awesome.
I have a lot of staff or kids that were at camp that now their kids are coming. And so to see how important it is for them to get their kids to get to have the experience they had. And that's really exciting. It's every year you get more and more of those. So
Yeah.
lets you know you had an impact.
Yeah. There's no doubt. Everybody's like, what's the best part of being a camp director? And I'm always like, watching these kids grow up is the
Yeah.
coolest thing
Wow.
ever, right? But now that I've hit that point, Sam, where I actually have kids who are sending their kids here, like
Yeah.
that's the
Very
best.
cool.
That
Yeah.
is super neat. Guys, I wish you all the best of luck. I'm talking to Jordana and Sam, but I'm talking to everybody listening as well. Kick some ass, all
Yeah.
right? Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. We had a really
Great.
tough summer at Liberty Lake last year, and the one thing that it did is it got me to really appreciate every interaction that I have with the kids and every interaction I have with the staff. That these are all amazing opportunities for us to spread sunshine, right? And make the world a better place. So
Take a
chew it
deep
up,
breath now and
folks.
then.
Have a great summer.
Yep.
Have a good summer.
All right. Well, we want to thank our friends that made this day camp podcast possible, and that is AM Skyer, camp minder, camptivities, and commercial recreation specialists. And if you like what you hear, of course, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Check out the show notes from all our episodes at daycamppodcast.com. It has 6 years of shows there, folks. Okay, with lots of information on our awesome guests. And for myself and Jordana and Sam, thanks for listening and making yourself a Day Camp Pro. We'll be back in a few months with another episode of the Day Camp Pod.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by Go Camp Pro and the Go Camp Pro Podcast Network. Find a podcast for camp professionals of every age and stage at gocamp.pro/podcast. Thanks for listening, friends. Hey, Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the Camp Hacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more camp pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.